Welcome, once again to another edition of Quoth The Raven, Lewis Bright Raven. I'm your host, Lewis Bright Raven, 29-year veteran writer, illustrator, and editor of comics, science fiction, fantasy, horror, and role-playing games. And today is day 29 of Booktober 2021, and we'll be talking about a historical fantasy fiction story by author Harold Schechter called Nevermore. And so let's go ahead and get right into that. Nevermore, the Edgar Allan Poe Mysteries #1, is from Pocket Books. The soft cover is $6.99. I don't know if there's a hardcover edition or not. The writer is Harold Schechter. Cover artist is Tom Hallman. Ted Davy says hello. Good day, all. Good day to you as well, sir. This is a mystery suspense alternate history type novel released in 1999. What it's about: what if Edgar Allan Poe's famous Gothic stories were based not on imagination, but reality? This book takes the idea that Poe was involved in an investigation of a series of hideous murders in Baltimore in his youth, murders that seem to be related to his family. While unraveling the dark thread of these horrific murders, Poe is essentially Sherlock Holmes, and eventually finds the inspiration that leads to some of his most famous works. Paired off with him as frontiersman turns politician Davy Crockett in 1834 Baltimore, freshly off of his term as a U.S. representative, and embittered by the political games and ready to head west to his fate fighting the Native Americans and Mexicans in Texas, leading to his death at the Alamo in a couple of years. But first, he pairs up with Poe. Can they coexist and solve these grisly murders? What the Raven thought. Well, Schechter writes the story from the analytical, highly intellectual mindset of Poe. Not mindset, typo there. And there are clues and evidence that correlate to not only his family's history, but that of his works, blurring the line of whether Poe was making up stuff out of his imagination or whether there was a connection to his family and their history. The murder mystery is gripping and intensifies towards a haunting climax that has Poe questioning his own sanity. Crockett's earthy banter and sympathetic personality and comic relief, it provides relief for both Poe and the reader. And their appealing dynamic makes the story engaging. Now, that having been said, there are going to be some people who are going to find Schechter's prose to be perhaps a little bit overwrought. And Crockett's tone is a little bit too, I don't know, a little bit too cliched maybe for the what he's supposed to be maybe, but he is quite the foil for Poe. The main thing though is that some readers are going to possibly expect this to be a really deep alt historical novel. It really isn't. There's enough depth to be superficially accurate to Baltimore of the era in which the story is taking place, but a hard dive will reveal all kinds of inaccuracies. Schechter's really going more for the feel and nuance of a Poe story than he is the historical fiction. But given that he's writing Poe in a Holmes detail, and that style of writing with that excessive vocabulary, really, the 20-cent words, not the 10-cent words, the 20-cent words, and all the detail. Otherwise, they would most people are going to start expecting him to have the detail and everything else the same. So it might disappoint some readers because they'll feel like he didn't do all of his homework, and that would fly in the face of the Poe persona and the kind of book he's writing in a way. But if you aren't the kind of reader to let that sort of thing bother you, or you just like the idea of Poe as Baltimore's Sherlock Holmes, then this is a fine selection to read. Schechter will go on with this series with 3 more novels, none of which I have been able to find, but they're called The Humbug, which was published in 2001, where he teams up with showman P.T. Barnum to solve a series of murders in New York. The next one is The Mask of the Red Death from 2004, where he joins forces with Kit Carson, another historically significant frontiersman, to track down a liver-eating murderer. Again, that one takes place in New York. And The Telltale Corpse, in which Poe teams up with author Louisa May Alcott, famously known as the author of Little Women, but she's written much more than that. I recommend that if you have no other awareness of her other than Little Women, do a quick Wikipedia search and look at all the other stuff she's done, and you might find that she's quite the interesting character herself. But they work together to put down yet another murderer, and this time the story takes place in Alcott's backyard of Massachusetts. I'm going to have to try and track these down myself. Unfortunately, my library doesn't carry any of those 3, but I'll keep looking. But this book is recommended for ages 16 and up, and I give it 3.5 stars. And here's the book. As you can see, it's this is the soft cover from Pocket Books. It's got a nice, whoops, go this way. All right. Nice design. Nice cover by Tom Hallman. Yes, the crow raven is kind of embossed on there. That's why you see that kind of weird shine there. It's a good 450, 460 pages. So, worth your time. Okay. Tomorrow's book will be Retrograde by Peter Codron. We'll see you tomorrow at the same time, roughly, probably. But in the meantime, we do have a few other announcements. Tomorrow at 12 to 3 p.m. at Scratch and Spin Music, Comics, and Movie Store, located, of course, they don't give you the address. It's on 12th Street in West Columbia, South Carolina, in the Triangle City section across the street from the Zesto's restaurant. They're going to be giving away 4 different Marvel comics, specifically for Halloween Comic Book Day. They're going to have Monster University, which is Mike Hoffman's Halloween-based rock band, as guests. They'll be performing for about an hour, starting at 12:30. You can get pictures with Pennywise, Michael Myers, and Trick or Treat Sam, which is basically, Trick or Treat Sam is like this giant scarecrow type character. Think of him as the Scarecrow meets, oh shoot, I can't think of his name. Jack Skeleton? Is that the guy's name from The Nightmare Before Christmas? I don't know. but yeah, I think you know what I'm talking about. But then after the Monster University set with Mike Hoffman, Mike will also be selling artwork as well as the artist known as Unlovely Frankenstein. They'll have prints and comics and other things for sale as their featured guest artists. And the store will have a up to 50% off sale. It's going to be between 10 and 50%, whatever the items may be. So that will be tomorrow from 12 to 3 p.m. Make sure if you're in the area to check it out. And as you know, tomorrow, Retrograde, Peter Codron. Tomorrow night, we'll have our Saturday movie night. We'll be discussing The Horror of Dracula, Satanic Rites of Dracula, The Vampire Bats. possibly the original Dracula with Bela Lugosi, but it's going to be basically a Dracula Vampire Night. And then tomorrow on Sunday, the last book of Booktober, Day 31, will be Graveyard Wars by A.J. Lieberman and Andrew Sebastian Kwan. We'll have a live draw. And then Sunday evening, I'll be joined by John Norris as we talk about more horror movies, including The Leopard Man, the 1932 Jekyll and Hyde, Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, by Frederick March. Targets, which features Boris Karloff. The Corpse Vanishes, which is another legendary story movie with Bela Lugosi. Possibly Dementia 13, by early film by Francis Ford Coppola. Some other films as well. So, be quite the busy weekend for us here at Casa Bright Raven. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll catch you guys tomorrow here at. I got to get my folder here straightened out. Sorry, it went to the wrong button. But if you enjoyed this video, would you do me a kind favor? Or if you think others might, hit the like, share, and subscribe buttons to continue to get support from this channel, or get content from my channel. As always, I thank you for watching and for your support. And we'll talk more about what's coming up on the show next week, tomorrow, because our friend Ted will be on next week, talking about his series Grim 101. New issues currently being funded on Kickstarter, so we'll talk about that on Monday. But in the meantime, if you want to get a hold of me on social media, at Facebook, Lewis.BrightRaven, at Twitter, at LewisBrightRave2, DeviantArt.com/BrightRavens, where you can find my artwork. You've been watching Quoth The Raven, Lewis Bright Raven, exclusively on YouTube. If you have questions, comments, suggestions for content for future episodes, you want to commission artwork from me, Quoth The Raven, LBR72@gmail.com is the address to reach out to me at. If I don't get back to you within, say, 24 to 48 hours, try me again at lewisbrightraven@yahoo.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a good day.